Hello you guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to make a video on how I moved from Washington State to Los Angeles a couple of years ago and kind of my process of doing things and just give you guys some tips on what I learned as far as like actual apartment hunting, and then also just like I guess the more unseen aspect of like willing something into reality, because this was definitely something that I wanted for a really long time, and it definitely was a process and a journey to find my perfect apartment, which I've now done twice. So yeah, I just wanted to walk you guys through my experience and hopefully you guys can take something away from it. So I lived with my dad, well, I lived with my mom and then I moved in with my dad, and I lived with my dad for the last 3 years before I moved out for the first time. So prior to moving all the way to California, I had never lived on my own before and honestly considered myself to be not very self-sufficient. I have always just dealt with a lot of anxiety and have always just like struggled with things, even like job interviews, getting my license, and just kind of like adulting in general has always been a struggle for me and a process for me, and I've always felt like I have kind of accomplished things a little bit later in life, or just I've always felt like I've done things like a little bit behind the majority of the people around me, just yeah, a little bit behind from my peers, which is not true, not entirely true, because we are all on our different timelines, and I truly know and believe that, and there's not, you know, a set rule book on like when or how we should be doing things, but that's just always kind of been an insecurity of mine. And so I definitely felt that before I moved out. I ended up moving out at 23, but yeah, like I said, before moving all the way to California from Seattle, I had never lived on my own. So it definitely was like something I was so excited for and I wanted so badly, and I felt such a pull to doing, but it also was really daunting and just felt very unrealistic to me. And I think it's important to share that because I just really feel like if I could do it, then you can do it, because even my dad was like, you're never moving out, which was not very helpful of him to say, but I really just didn't feel super confident in my abilities, and the whole thing was just really scary, and just there's so many moving parts to moving out that I was like a little bit unsure realistically if I could do it, which is so silly. And here I am now, and I've lived here for like the past 3 years and I love it so much. But yeah, I just thought that that would be helpful to share, because I just have always felt like I've seen everyone around me do things and everyone always seems to do it with a lot of ease, and that has not been my experience with a lot of just normal everyday life things. So yeah, if I can do it, you can do it too. That is a promise. But yeah, my first step in moving was really just like ultimately deciding for myself that I was going to move, and just really grounding in that decision and declaring it to myself, and even declaring it to the people around me, to my family, to my friends, and just like letting it be known in the universe and to myself that I am going to move to Los Angeles, because that is what I wanted to do. And even if my external reality didn't reflect that I was going to be moving anytime soon, a deep part of me inside just knew that it was true. And I know that sounds silly because anyone can move anywhere, but I am really telling you that like I didn't know if I was ever going to move out of my parents' house. So to me, you know, I still didn't have 100% confidence, and also it's like a couple states away, so it is a bigger move, my first time. But I knew within that I was going to move and that I was going to live this dream life that I wanted to live in California as well. So with that, even though I still was very far away from my goal, I started picking up decorations for my house, pots and pans, little blankets, just randomly when I was out like shopping with my family and I saw something cute, I would get it with the intention of putting it in my new apartment. And that really started to help get the ball rolling for me and just really make it feel like it was a real thing that was happening for me, which was really exciting too, and just really fun, and just I think really helped in the process of like creating this real thing and knowing that it was really going to happen. So I had kind of just started a pile in my room of like all of the things for my future apartment, And I think that that is a really great manifesting technique. I've heard a lot of people do this where they buy something ahead of time before something is guaranteed, just because it kind of shows yourself and the universe that you're really, really serious about this thing. So that was one of the first things that I started doing after I'd kind of just internally decided that this is what I wanted and what I was going to accomplish. After I kind of started doing that, I got very, very specific on what I wanted out of my future home. So I ended up actually doing this manifesting technique that I had read about in Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I was also reading around that time, and it was immensely helpful for me. I really feel like that book completely changed my life and was just so helpful for me in so many ways. And I'm really grateful that I read it at the time that I did, because it was very useful for me in making this big life change and just kind of changing my mindset on a lot of things regarding myself and the way that I wanted to show up in the world. So I'll show you guys right here actually what I did. And I can make a whole video on this manifesting technique, because this has truly helped me so much for manifesting multiple different things in my life, whether it's apartment, a car, a job. This one has definitely like come in clutch for me many times. I actually just made a new and updated one for YouTube career that I want to have and that I'm going to have, and that I already have. But it was really, really fun to write all of those things out and just get really excited about it. But basically, you put a letter for your goal, and actually I probably won't even get too far into it because I could totally just make a separate video on this, but the basis is that on one side you're writing down all of the specific things that you want out of what you're manifesting, and then on the other side of the chart you're writing down all of the feelings that you're going to feel once you accomplish it. So I had written that I was going to find a beautiful, bright, spacious studio or one-bedroom apartment that came with a parking spot or easily accessible, reliable street parking on a calm and empty street, and that there was going to be easy parking at all times of day. I wrote my budget that I wanted, utilities included, either this amount or less. I said that I wanted it in a central location, next to some nice grocery stores, restaurants, fun things going on, that I was going to be in a safe and friendly neighborhood, that it was going to be cute, unique, eclectic, and just have like perfect features for me, because I don't like to live in like a cookie cutter house. I really wanted something that just felt very me and really, really special, and I was totally able to find that. So anyways, there I wrote a lot more, and then as far as like feelings, I wrote gratitude, joy, relieved, excited, ecstatic, proud, happy, a feeling of home and coziness, and just, you know, a bunch of more specific things. And so while writing that, you're really supposed to just conjure up those feelings that you're going to feel when you accomplish this thing, and just really tune into that as if it's already happening, and just really get excited while writing down like the specifics that you want out of whatever it is. It can be anything. Getting as specific as you can, and yeah, just putting no limit on yourself. It's like actually really fun to just allow your imagination to run wild and think about what you really want outside of any lack mentality or any fears or any doubts, and just write down exactly what you want. And while you're doing that, to just visualize it and feel into it and just really conjure up those feelings and get excited about it. So it's a really, really fun thing to do. And then with this process, you're supposed to meditate on it. There's specific meditations that Joe Dispenza has out where he kind of talks you through it. But I would do that meditation every night and just visualize like finding my apartment, walking in my apartment, decorating it, having friends over, showing my parents, having my dad tell me that he's proud of me, and just would also feel all of those feelings while visualizing it. And throughout the day while working my jobs, I would just daydream about it and just daydream about the friends I was going to make in California and the life I was going to live and the job opportunities that were going to come my way. And I would just get really, really, really excited about it. And this is something that I have loved to do ever since I was a kid. I would always visualize like my perfect scenario before going to sleep and just get really excited about things. I was definitely manifesting before I knew what manifesting was, and I think a lot of us have done that. So just very similar vibe to that, just really, really getting excited and just really putting out into the universe what you specifically want. Okay, so after I had kind of done that manifesting list and started collecting things from my apartment and had really decided internally that this is what I was going to do, I had to incorporate the more practical side of all of this, which was making a bit of a plan for myself and kind of coming up with a budget of how much money I wanted to have saved before I went. And at that point I had zero savings. So I specifically remember I had decided I wanted to move in February of 2021, and I was working as a hostess at this restaurant. I was not making very much money, so I knew I needed to get another job. I remember telling my mom and my sister, like, I just need to get a nanny job and just make a bunch of money and work both of these jobs and save the money, and then I could just move in a couple of months. So I had decided that I wanted to save around $10,000, and I ended up just going on a nannying website and I found a job. I ended up getting that job right away. I remember I started that job, my first day was on my 23rd birthday, which was February 24th. And I ended up moving 5 months later on July 5th. So in that time, I was able to go nanny part-time and then go straight to my restaurant job afterwards, which was not the most fun, but I knew it was temporary, and I really just had this specific goal in mind that I was so excited to be able to accomplish and have. So the work just felt really worth it because I knew I was doing it for a purpose and I knew it was all going to pay off. But yeah, I won't lie, I worked very hard. I worked many long hours, picked up a lot of shifts, was very tired. Debated on quitting my restaurant job many times. Like, I just was overwhelmed by working 2 jobs, but I was able to do it and push through, and I'm really, really glad that I was able to do that. And yeah, living at home and not having to pay rent was definitely really, really helpful, and being able to save money. So I would just definitely say, if you have that as an option, no shame in that whatsoever. It's really a privilege, and anyone who has the opportunity to live with their parents rent-free, I think that yeah, that is just a really, really awesome opportunity that you should take advantage of, because it really, really helps to be able to save without having to give a lot of your money away to rent. So that was definitely really helpful. Worked both the jobs, saved, was way more conscious of my spending because, like I said, I had that goal in mind that I was working towards. And yeah, so I was working, and I think in like April or May, I think it was May, my mom, my sister, and I flew to California to apartment hunt, and I was so excited to find my perfect place. And basically we stayed for like 3 or 4 days. Actually, we might have stayed longer than that. Basically, we stayed for, I think, under a week, and we just got up and apartment hunted every day. I looked at so many different places, and ultimately I did not find my place, which was so disorienting for me at the time. I was just like very confused because I had definitely gone into that thinking that I was going to find my apartment. So it was really weird to just like fly back home and be like, okay, I didn't find my place. But really it's just that I just didn't find any that I really loved. They were all just very tiny and very expensive, and a lot of them just didn't come with parking too. Like, they'd be almost what I wanted, but not quite, or I would really almost try to force it too. I remember that there was this one place that I did really, really like, but they didn't have guaranteed parking. It was only street parking. And I remember we drove back there like multiple times a day for like multiple days in a row just to check out what the parking situation would look like. And it was so bad for blocks and blocks and blocks, borderline miles away from the place. There was literally not a single spot to be found. So I remember I was just so desperate feeling for a place that I was like, maybe I could just buy an electric scooter and I could keep it in my car and I could park a mile away, ride my scooter to the house, haul it up the stairs. And I just definitely, like, in retrospect, was absolutely forcing the situation, and it just like the truth was it just wasn't my place, right? Like, that wasn't my apartment. But it was just really scary, like coming home and feeling like I had failed and feeling like I didn't find a place, and it was just very discouraging. And like, I was just like, okay, what do we do now? But yeah, that's just how it worked out. So I came home and I ended up just working for a couple of more months, and then I just decided again, like, okay, on July 5th, I'm just gonna take my car and I'm gonna drive and I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna move. So I secured a place to sublease for 3 days and I drove to California and I stayed in that sublease, and I just every day would wake up first thing in the morning, apartment hunt, apartment hunt, apartment hunt. I was just constantly calling different property managers and asking to come, going from one place to the next. And I ended up making like a little spreadsheet on my computer to keep track of the prices of each place, the addresses of each place, kind of would write like a little bit about the vibe and like the property manager's phone numbers and stuff. So that really helped me stay organized, and I definitely recommend doing that if you're looking for an apartment. But yeah, again, I wasn't finding anything. I didn't find anything, and it was so stressful. It was so stressful. I have many pictures on my phone of me just sobbing during that time because I just thought it was gonna be this like fun, exciting thing for me, and it just ended up being so discouraging and just was really stressful because I didn't have a place to stay after the 3 days of the sublease were over, and I just really was expecting to find a place, which I definitely would give yourself more time. That's another thing I learned in this process, is that it can just take a lot longer than what you're expecting. So yeah, I just didn't find a place, and I will also never take secure housing for granted again. Like, I've always been grateful to have a roof over my head, but I think just being in that like deadline circumstance, it just like added such a big layer of stress that like I was like, as soon as I find my house, I will be so grateful. I will never take it for granted again. Yeah, didn't find anything again. Coincidentally, my friend Zane from Washington was actually moving to LA at the same time as me, and he was staying at his uncle's house about an hour outside of LA. So he told me I could come stay with them. So I was very fortunate to have a place to stay after my sublease had ended, but I will say that really wasn't what I wanted or what I was expecting to happen. And like I also said, immensely grateful that Zane invited me to do that, and that his uncle opened up his house to me without knowing me too for a week. That was so kind of them. Sincerely, I don't know what I would have done otherwise, because I probably would have had to get a hotel or just stay with somebody, and I don't know. It would have been expensive and complicated. So I was really, really fortunate for that opportunity. But yeah, I was so out of my comfort zone, and I was so just discouraged and just scared, and I really, really, really was just immersed in the unknown. And I just had such a strong vision of how I thought that things were going to play out and how I wanted things to play out, and this was so off course. I just was like, universe, what is going on? Like, can anybody hear me? And what was so weird is that, well, not weird in retrospect, but to me at the time, I was getting so much confirmation. I was getting so many synchronicities from the universe, so many signs that like I was heard. Like, so many funny, weird little things that made no sense that just confirmed like, okay, when I'm saying these things out to the universe, when I'm declaring what I want, like I am heard. I'm not just out here all by myself. I am received, and there are like angels watching over me and guiding me and protecting me and supporting me. But then when I wasn't finding my place, it was like my reality was showing me the opposite. So I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And it was very stressful. And I sobbed that whole day that I drove to Zane's uncle's house, and I just like went to the beach and just tried to like avoid going there all day because I just didn't know his uncle too, and I just felt so out of my comfort zone, and I just was scared. But I ended up having like the most beautiful experience. It was the funniest thing ever. And I got to live in this beach town in San Juan Capistrano for a week, and his uncle took us all over San Diego and Orange County, and I got to experience so many cool things that I never would have otherwise if I had just found my place the way that I thought I was going to find my place. So in retrospect, like everything ended up working out the way it was supposed to. But at that time, like I said, I was very resistant to what was happening. But I ended up going to his uncle's house, and while I was there, I was looking on Facebook, and I ended up finding a girl subleasing a room in Echo Park it was either for 2 weeks or for a month. And originally I was just going to do 2 weeks, and then at that point I was like, you know what, my plan has changed so many times already that like, why not just do the full month? That will allow myself to kind of ground into a new space, take my time on finding an apartment, because clearly the like giving myself a 3-day limit thing was just like not in the cards for me. So I ended up getting that sublease. And I went there like a week after staying with Zane's uncle, and it was just perfect. It was such a dreamy, beautiful room, and my roommates were so amazing and so sweet, and I feel so grateful that I got to meet them, and I ended up becoming friends with them, and I went on a trip to Joshua Tree with them, and we watched a meteor shower, and I got to experience living with roommates and living with girls for the first time ever, which was so cool because I really had known the whole time that I wanted to live alone. But yeah, it was just such a beautiful experience to be able to see what it is like to live with people for a month. So I just was so grateful for that whole experience. And while I was there, I was apartment hunting still. And about a week left of my sublease, I still didn't have a place secured, but I really just was trusting the universe at that point that it was going to work out. Very begrudgingly. I felt exhausted, I felt tired, I felt, you know, like, oh, when is this gonna happen? I have a week left, but I really was trusting, and I was just like, you know what? There's only so much I can do. And I ended up going to this one open house for this studio, got there, knew right away it wasn't my place because it was so tiny. It was literally just a box with like a kitchen sink and a microwave, and I was like, that is not going to do it for me. So expensive, like it's actually criminal how expensive these places are for what you get. But anyway, so I knew I wasn't going to get that place, but I ended up just like walking around, and then I ended up going upstairs because there was another unit that was available. So I was just peeking around in there, but same situation. While I was up there, there was another girl that was also looking around the open house, and she ended up complimenting the shirt that I was wearing. So I was wearing this like striped Brandy Melville shirt, and she ended up telling me that the reason that she complimented my shirt was because that she had that shirt also, and so she just like felt inclined to say something to me. So that was like a funny little coincidence. And then from her complimenting my shirt, we just kind of started talking about apartment hunting, and I was asking her like how her search was going and where she was from, and we ended up talking so much that we kind of went outside to continue our conversation. And she was an LA native and she was looking for a place, and we just started talking about what we were looking for. And she ended up asking me if I wanted to go get like bubble tea and like search some more together. And I just, in the past, was a very closed off person. So at that time, that really wasn't something that I guess I would perceive as like a normal Emily thing to say yes to. But I think just moving in general and just the experiences that I had had for that like month of just living in California had really changed me and brought out so many new sides of me in so many different ways. And I really was putting myself out there, and I didn't know anybody here really, so I was just like introducing myself to people in lines, and just really like, yeah, like, you know, from having so many external changes, inevitably my internal was changing as well. So I ended up agreeing to go get bubble tea with her, and she hopped in my car, which was like a little, like, I don't know, it just was so out of my normal comfort zone and just like a funny situation. And we actually were like such different people too that we ended up like almost like bickering too in the car. It was just like such a weird situation, so not like what I would normally experience, but I just felt really comfortable with her. And yeah, so we went and we got bubble tea, and it turns out that I actually had the phone number to a place that she had been trying to get a hold of for a really long time. She had toured it before, she loved it, but she never got their phone number. So I was able to give that to her, and she was able to call them. And then she had a place that she had seen that she didn't love, but she thought that maybe it would be more my vibe. So she gave me that phone number. So I called that guy asking to tour that place. He ended up telling me that that place had just been rented, but he was like, there is this new place that I just went and saw. He was like, I haven't even posted it yet. And he was telling me, he was like, it's not even like an apartment, it's like a little house. And he was like, it's so spacious, like it's such a good value for its price. And like, he was like, I know this is gonna go instantly as soon as I post it. Like, do you want me to just send you the address and you can go check it out right now? So I was like, yeah, of course. So he did, and we drove right over there and we went and saw it, and it was perfection. It was so cute. It had exactly what I wanted. So many cute little features to it. It had a little mail slot where the mail would go directly in my house. It had a front door and a back door. It had a backyard. It had a really cute sink, a really cute like old vintage shower, and just like a cute mount on the wall and like rounded ceilings. Like it just was everything that I could have wanted and more. And I was just absolutely beside myself. And I called him back and I was like, do not post this. I am taking this apartment. I want it now. Like I'm ready immediately. Like please let me do this. So he sent me over the information and yeah, I ended up getting approved and it was a dream. And I literally remember telling my mom after I'd moved in, like, I don't know how anything is ever going to top this place because I just truly was so in love with it. And then obviously it's like our tastes grow and change, we grow and change, what we want grows and changes. Also, because that was my first time moving out, I didn't know what to look for in certain capacities. So I lived there for 2 years and I loved it and I loved my time there. And then eventually I realized other things I wanted out of an apartment, like a washer and dryer and maybe a little bit more updated appliances and stuff like that. So when the time came for me to grow out of that place, I did that manifesting list again and ended up where I am now, which I am so happy with. But that place had every single thing that I had written down on my list. The parking, the neighborhood. I literally lived in mid-city. I said I wanted a central location. I lived in mid-city, smack dab in the middle. There was street parking all day, every day. There was ample street parking, which is like pretty rare in LA. And I had the most amazing neighbors and it just was literally everything that I had written on that list. And it was just so funny the way that it had played out because it really happened from, I mean, it was a whole journey, obviously, of like coming to LA, not finding a place, coming back, still not finding a place in those 3 days, going to San Juan Capistrano for a week, getting my sublease for a month, and then like meeting this girl because she complimented my shirt and talking to her, and then through her calling that guy and him telling me about this other place that was available. Like it was such a windy road, but genuinely happened exactly how it was supposed to. And just think that that is something that I really learned. Just staying flexible and just really trusting and having a strong vision of what you want, but not being so fixated on how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, because I'm just so immensely grateful that things played out the way they did and that I got to have all of those other little experiences along the way. And that wouldn't have happened if I had just found my place first thing when I went and looked. So yeah, a lot of synchronicities involved, a lot of definitely like manifesting and being very specific on what I had wanted out of my place and just really believing that I was worthy and deserving of that, and just knowing that I am a creator and that we are all creators and that we are creating our life and that we have these like super amazing abilities to be able to do that. And also just like incorporating the practical, working 2 jobs, saving money, being cautious with my spending, being conscious with my spending, I should say. And yeah, I guess just like combining the two, and then just also surrendering truly. And sometimes you don't even have a choice because trust me, I was very resistant through a lot of that process. But I think that it really just showed me that like things do work out. I am loved, I am supported, and that I just need to have more faith in myself and the universe to deliver exactly what I want, and to just chill a little bit more and to yeah, just do what's within my power, and then just allow the universe to bless me and surprise me with the rest. But yeah, I hope that this was inspiring in some kind of a way to you guys. I feel like if I had seen something like this when I was deciding that I wanted to move, it would have been really encouraging to me, because I just felt not the most confident in moving in general. And then, you know, that whole process was really amazing and so worth in the end, but was very stressful throughout. And I just wish that I knew to just trust a little bit more. So yeah, I hope that you can take that away from this video. And I wish you luck and love on everything that you guys are manifesting and creating, and I believe in your abilities. And yeah, I will see you guys in a video again soon. Okay, bye!